Good evening. I'm Tre Tailor, and you have joined us for another episode of Coping with COVID. This is your information, updates, and tips on how to cope, how to deal with this new way of life dealing with Corona 19. I'm Tre Tailor, and today we have a great guest. Sheryl Williams with Agape Christian Counseling, Agape Training, and Counseling Centers is going to join us. Sheryl, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, Trey.
Absolutely. We were
Appreciate it.
supposed to get together this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And actually, I did go to Cheryl's office for my regular appointment, but we couldn't. Technology was just not our friend today. So she agreed to do it this evening. So again, thank you so much. Sheryl, we are living in such an interesting time, and I am sure that you and your patients are, also dealing with a lot. I mean, this Corona-19 situation has affected people in so many ways. People's finances are affected, thus all of their bills. People don't know how they're going to pay their bills, their mortgage, their rent, their electricity. So, of course, that's fear of, am I going to get put out? Am I going to be able to take care of my family? Am I going to even have a job when this is over? And then, of course, I'm confined to the house. With me, it's homeschooling, and many others, it's homeschooling children. And I'm not a teacher, and don't play one on TV. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just being confined. Can't go anywhere, not supposed to go anywhere. On my way to your office today, the signs all over the roads are go home, stay home, go home, stay home. And then when you are
That's
out,
right.
you see people with their mouths covered, their hands covered. It is an interesting time we are living in now. What do you say to your patients and to the public about dealing with what's going on? Because people are stressed out right now.
Mhm. This is a very stress written time, Trey. I think
Yeah.
most people have a difficult time with change in general. And when change, and there is so much change because everything is changing, has changed. Um, it is difficult for the brain to process,
Yeah.
which therefore leads us to struggle a lot just because it's a difficult time to process. It's a lot for us to process. Um, and I think you mentioned fear. There's
Yes.
just fear of the unknown.
Yes. Yes.
We don't know when it's going to stop. We don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know a lot.
Yeah. We don't know what's going
And
to happen
so,
next.
correct, correct. Um, and, we live in a society where we like to believe that we have just a little bit of control
Yeah.
over what goes on in our lives. And now, in this time, we don't have quite as much control as we thought we had.
Hmm.
And so when you see, um, the sign go home, stay home, then quite naturally everybody wants to go home because or do you want to have problems with the law? In some
That's right.
places, we were in Florida over the weekend, and there was a checkpoint we had to stop at,
Really?
and before we could enter the state, they wanted to know where we were going.
Right.
Um,
Did they
or
also
better
ask
yet,
where you had
where
been?
we were coming
Where are you
from.
coming from? Yeah.
Yeah, where we were coming from. Where we were coming from. And so I suppose if we were coming from New York or someplace like that, they probably would have sent us to a different area. But since we were coming from South Carolina, I said, okay, go ahead. So, there's a lot of uncertainty everywhere. And, I don't recall in my many, many years that I have ever seen anything quite like this.
Right. Right. Yeah. I want
And
to say
so, because of that, there's a lot of anxiety. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say hi to a couple of people that have posted. Joanna Bridgette said, good evening, Reverend Williams. Shelley Williams says, I love Mrs. Williams. She's amazing. And Katrina Bridgette says, amazing speaker. They are screaming your praises, Sheryl. And that's why I asked you to come on because, again, this is a just an interesting time, as you said, that we're living in, and different people are dealing with it differently. And I guess
Correct.
everyone's reaction is valid because people deal with
Mhm.
situations differently.
Mhm.
I just want to, you share some advice, some tips, some suggestions on how people can move through it with
Mhm.
their sanity, not stressed out and not
Well,
being able to deal with it.
right. A lot of people are having to play a lot of different roles in which, you go from being mom to teacher to
Mhm.
cafeteria worker
Yeah.
to, yeah, you're doing it all. Um, and that's stress on top of the stress that you were dealing with on a regular basis. So it's difficult. And I think it's just difficult being inside um, with everyone.
Yes,
Typically,
yes.
yeah, our lives are so busy to where, we, one person might be home, the other person might be away, but to be at home all day with
Every
family
day.
every day, that's a lot. And we can certainly understand that. So, a couple of things that I like to share with individuals
Okay.
is that, um, when we look at stress, we look at, as we talked about earlier, the brain trying to process information. Um, and so, what we want to do is try to get out just to get a little sunshine, even if it's not a lot,
Right.
just to get outside and take breaks over the course of time. Um, just because over the course of the day, just because you are inside and you're not used to being inside all day with everyone. Um, Try to do some kind of exercise. Um, Also, think about the times when you were, I guess, young and even as adults, because we want to make this a light time.
Yeah.
Think about the things that you used to do to have fun.
Mm.
Typically, as adults, we forget to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't even know how to play. So if you got children, get outside, play with them, try to have some fun.
Right.
And
Make
this
the
is the
best of the
time
situation.
to try to make the best of the situation. And take it one day at a time, because that's exactly what we have to do. That's all we can do, really, is stay in the moment. As of today, this is how things are. We have no clue if it will be better tomorrow or the next day.
Hmm.
But as of today, right now, this is all we have.
Right.
Um, Whether it gets better or whether it gets worse.
So your advice
Um,
then, Cheryl, is deal with what's happening today. Don't worry about, and that's scriptural. That's
well, it
scriptural.
is very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Deal with what you can deal with, which is what's happening right now. Joanna Bridgette says, facts over feelings was advice that you gave to her dealing with uncertainty. And she said that's been life saving advice for her. Deal with the facts
Very
over what
good.
you feel. Because your mind can
Right.
play tricks
Correct.
on you.
Your mind always will play tricks on
Yeah.
you if you're not
Yeah.
careful. That's for sure. Yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Also keep in mind is that there's a lot of unknown. We get a lot of mixed messages, so we don't know.
Yeah.
And where we don't know, we have a tendency to fill in the blanks.
Right.
And typically is with the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johanna, for that.
Yeah. Katrina
Yeah.
Bridgette said that you keep her together mentally. No more battlefield of the mind. Katrina says, I've learned to release. That's great advice too, Cheryl, because there's so much for us to think about, not only with just like I said, everything that I mentioned with the virus, which what's going on with my family, what's going on with my friends. Someone passed away. I can't go to their funeral or grieve. Am I going to get it? People are walking through the grocery store when you have to go side-eyeing people because you don't know who has it. But then on top of that, it's the medical profession. Are they, working on a cure fast enough? Our the political process, whether you like the administration or not. People are thinking about that. So our minds are going a million miles an hour, thinking about, worrying about, concerned about, in many cases, a bunch of stuff that, as both Katrina and Johanna said, we can't even control anyway.
Correct. And we have to pull away from the news, the TV. I mean, because 24/7, there's always something about the virus. So I think we have to be mindful how much we saturate our brain with that information. The more we listen to it, the more anxious we become, and the more anxious we become, of course, stress is not something to be easily dealt with, because a lot of physical signs, a lot of physical symptoms can occur because of stress. So you want to learn how to pull back, and I think more importantly, recognize your body and what your body is trying to say to you. Oftentimes we forget that there are always going to be warning signs that it's time to pull back.
Right.
You might find yourself nervous. You might find yourself having heart palpitations. You might even find yourself having panic attacks.
Yeah.
So before it gets to panic attacks, an hour a day is plenty for the news. Anything more than that is probably saturation.
Right. So your number 2 thing would be restrict the amount of information that you are listening to, reading, watching.
Correct.
Okay. And High Love Johnson says, good advice. Continue to practice self-care and let's play. That was your first point. Let's go outside. We've had some beautiful days. Play with the kids. Lay by yourself, walk around. I mean, me and the kids, we walk around the block a couple of times a day. Drew's riding his bike. And just enjoying the beauty of the days that we've had.
Yeah. One of the things I've also found too is that a lot of people have said once the initial shock of having to stay at home, once that was over, they were able to begin to enjoy, to relax, and began to recognize how busy their lives really were. So I think that is a good thing to always keep in mind, and that this is an opportunity for you to reconnect with self and the ones you love, being there in the same house, I suppose.
Yeah.
But for sure, reconnect with self. Just take some time out for yourself. Yeah.
I know a lot of people are utilizing this time to do spring cleaning, to clean up, to purge. Is that a good suggestion too?
Well, I think that's a good suggestion. But I think even if you get an opportunity to do that, try not to work too much, because you at some point probably will be going back to work.
Right.
But you do want to get some of those things done that you've had on that to-do list, and it keeps moving down and then up and then down on your to-do list. So sure, you definitely want to get a chance to do some of that. Because when you're organized, you feel better.
Yeah.
And if you can organize the closet, you person. So when you can get organized in that sense, you definitely want to be able to do that.
You know what, Sheryl, that is so, you say that and I'm chuckling because one of the things that my third floor where my office and the game room has been just in complete disarray, because I've been in the process of having some work done to it. And I've had 3 maintenance men start and not finish. And then just finally, I just said, I've got to do something. So I kind of moved, because I've got the kids. I started moving some things around. And just last weekend, I finally got my desk cleared. And I'm going to tell you, something that small makes you not only feel accomplished, I can breathe. I'm so proud of my little desk, girl. It's so clean and organized. And I do feel better. And
You
not only do
do.
I feel
Mhm.
better, I feel good about coming up here, so
Right.
um
Right.
utilizing the time, as you said, to organize, to purge, to do those things that you haven't had time to do before, does,
Mhm.
I think, give you a sense of something, a sense of accomplishment, for lack of a better word, when maybe you are feeling like you are out of control.
Control. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Johanna
Um,
says delegation helps me to keep my sanity. Johanna says I'm not a failure when I pass off chores. She said self-care and maturing my children. Jamie does 50% of the cooking. She says she takes a nap regularly. She also says
Very
she
good.
does, yeah, yeah. She also says she
Very
does
good.
yoga every day. And I found a kids yoga class online that we've been doing. Sometimes the kids are focused enough to do it with me. Sometimes they're not, but I'm doing it. And,
Right.
so moving and yoga is really good because I've been looking for a yoga class for kids.
Right. And I think with parents also just recognizing, there are boundaries. It's okay to set boundaries and limits with your children,
Mhm.
um, especially if they're older and they know the difference between the time. Give me an hour just in my own little space.
Right, right.
Um, yes, yes.
That's not my
Knock on the
reality, but yeah,
door
some
before.
people. Yeah,
Well, I mean, you have little ones, but
yeah,
still. Hmm.
yeah. That's
And
good.
that. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I was going to say that's good to those children that are old enough to understand, to let them know I need a minute. Give me an hour. Give me,
Mm-hmm.
this is my time. I know we're here together, and that is so important, to have some time to yourself. And I
Correct.
think that one thing this has taught us is the beauty of me time.
Mm-hmm.
How much important that is.
Yes. And I think, as we look at our lives and how busy we have become, we can begin to look at, and especially as parents and as mothers, and I guess fathers too, you find yourself just doing, trying to be good parents and not recognizing self. It's
Yes.
hard to be a good parent when you can't take care of yourself or you can't set those limits um, with your children, in that, you want to be your best so you can give them your best, if that makes any
Exactly.
sense.
Oh, it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. But so many times, and you're right, as parents, we are so uber focused on making sure their kids are okay. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, let's raise your hands if you if you just
Mm-hmm.
do not take care of you, and it is so important. I mean, girl, this is going to sound crazy, but I was telling my sister Maxine a couple of weeks ago. I bathe the kids, put the kids in the tub. I looked at that tub because I'm a showerer. So,
Mm-hmm.
man, once I got the kids to bed, I ran a tub and I laid in that tub, and I probably been in this tub. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been in my tub. Like I said, because I'm a
Right.
shower person. But
Right.
just laying in that tub, the kids were asleep, and just, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so now I have added taking baths to my regime, because
Correct.
that is just time for me, and it's so relaxing. Girl, I cannot tell. Take a bath, everybody.
Take a bath.
Take a bath. I mean, with and I had the lights down and the little music going and the aromatherapy. Woo, girl, have mercy. That was just a
You
small thing.
Well, it's not so small when you don't get it that often.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl Mendenhall says Cheryl is amazing. She's helped me through so many trying times in her life. She said, you're a godsend. Janice Bates says that you are the truth. And
Hmm.
um, um, My coach Tawana said, hi, Trey. Hi, coach. How are you? So good to see you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're talking with Sheryl Williams with Agape Training and Counseling Center. I'm Tre Tailor. It's Coping with COVID. And we're talking about how to cope with this new normal that we are experiencing, because with everything else going on, people are having some challenging issues. So far, Sheryl has told us not to forget to play. There have been some beautiful days. Go outside and play with your kids or by yourself. And that means ride your bike, take a walk, do kickball, that kind of thing. Restrict the amount of information that you are getting, which means you don't have to watch every news show, everything that comes on.
Give yourself a break from CNN, yes.
Yeah, or MSNBC or Fox or whatever you watch. It's information overload, and it's sometimes, if you're already stressing, it's just additional stressors and giving you additional information that we have no control over anyway. So take a break. Also, she said, move, exercise, which kind of goes back to playing. And then we were just talking about take some time for yourself. You're worth it. You're worth it. And Sheryl said, if that means if you have older children, just saying to them, I need an hour. I need from 1 to 2 or 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 or whatever. Or like I said one of my big things that I've started giving myself is a bath. It's a bath with no children and nice music and some aromatherapy. And like I said to Sheryl, it seems like such a small thing, but it is a big thing to me, because that centers me. That has been my peace. So Sheryl, anything else that you can share with us, just some tips and suggestions for people who are dealing with it? What about folks who are concerned because maybe they've had someone they've known that just passed away because of corona or something else? I mean, I've got a girlfriend in New York. Her sister did not have the virus, but she was in the hospital during that time, passed away. And because of this new reality with the virus, they can't have a funeral. So what do you say to those people who are grieving because they can't grieve the traditional way?
Well, I've heard several people talk about that, and I think it depends on the family members, and more in terms of, some people will delay funerals, but that also delay the process, the grieving process.
That's right. You're hanging on a string.
Right. And I think when you have your loved one to pass, that alone is stressful in and of itself. But when you're trying to work through the grieving process, everything, like the rest of your life, is put on hold. And because everything is put on hold, I guess, you allow those emotions to build up. And the one thing you don't want to do is allow the emotions to build up, because they'll start to come out in different ways, and different people express stress and anxiety, loss, grief, sadness, depression in a lot of different ways. So a lot of people are just having to hold off. Some people are cremating, and some people are doing a lot of different things.
Right.
So I think that all of these things are things that we want to consider. But one of the things that I would suggest is, for those who have lost loved ones and are not able to, grieve the normal, traditional way, I think writing kind of helps. Because the thing that you do want to do is get out your thoughts and your feelings. So I think writing does help, and it could be letter to God. It could be letters to your loved one. Um, it could be just in general getting out those emotions and those thoughts.
Yeah.
I think all of that does help. Mm-hmm.
Angela Moore says, this is wonderful information. Angela, thank you so much for joining us. Amanda Mitchell, we thank you also. And Janice Baines, all for watching Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor, Sheryl Williams with Agape Christian Counseling, Agape Training and Counseling Center joins us today to help us as we cope with the coronavirus. Marvell Mendenhall says just what you said, that journaling is major, just writing down, as you said, Sheryl, your feelings, your thoughts. And I think it just kind of helps you see and then deal with it. I mean, here again, I go back to the scriptures, make, what is write your vision, make it plain kind of thing. When you can see what your feelings are and what your feelings are not, then I think you can then deal with them better.
Correct. Yeah.
Katrina Bridgette also said journaling is amazing. Johanna says writing is a safe place to share and to release your feelings. So yeah.
And then that's something that you have to hold on to. You can always get rid of that. Yeah. And we're still very much in our office, Tre, every day. We are doing some telehealth, and a lot of people just want to come in just to get out.
Right. Well, that's good to know. And you're practicing social distancing. I know
we are
I
practicing
today to do the interview. You're like, we got to stay 6 weeks, and we couldn't even hug, which was fine. I mean, but people can appreciate that. But as you say, you are also doing the telemedicine also.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk just briefly about the practice. I call it, because I guess it used to be Agape Christian Counseling, and now it's Agape Training and Counseling Center. And so while I want people who are believers to know that your practice is Christ-based or spiritual-based, those who may not be believers, I want them to know also that you accept everyone, that you do general counseling.
Well, we counsel everyone. I usually like to say it's a no judgment zone.
Yeah.
We don't judge anyone. We don't take our Bible and throw at you. We won't say, what we try to do is try to exhibit the love of Christ. We try to be accepting of everyone. So we don't shy away from anyone, really. And we like to think that we are there to assist in whatever walk a person is endeavoring. So that's what we do.
Yeah. If people want more information, Sheryl, about the practice, how can they contact you?
You can go to our website at agapects.com. And you can call us at 803-779-2777.
That's 803-779-2777, or go to agapects.com. Katrina Bridgette says, love you, Sheryl Williams. Words of wisdom always.
Katrina.
And Johanna says, please know that she only brings in God when I do. Johanna says, my sessions are often unholy. Is it say? Wait a minute. Did that say unholy? Unholy as I release. Oh, as holy. I don't know what she's saying. I think you meant as holy.
Unholy.
Also, I want to shout out my brother. My brother is watching from New York. He said,
awesome.
Thank you, Lord, let me tell you, that's a whole other show, me and my brother. But I love my brother. Thank you, little sister, for keeping us informed during all of this. Love you, Chucky. I love you even more. Marvell said, I love her too, Bridget. Okay, so now I love her too. Joanna, no, I love her more. Yeah, so listen, it's okay if you are, and don't you agree, Sheryl? It's no reason to feel ashamed or embarrassed that you are having some challenges dealing with this. I'll tell you, my own story with Sheryl is that when my son was here with me we were having mother-son problems, and we decided to go to counseling. And the deal was, I'll pick a counselor and you'll pick a counselor and we'll choose a counselor. Well, he didn't pick a counselor, so we got to go to my counselor. And so my son and I went to Sheryl. And then when my son moved, I asked Sheryl, can I keep coming? And I continue to come the 13th of every month. And listen, I am a firm believer in preservation of your mental and emotional health. And that's what this is. I mean, this doesn't mean, girl, you so crazy. It means that you just want and need someone, an unbiased person, to kind of talk to and talk through some things with. And she has been, just like all of you who have said, she has just been such a godsend. Just someone, like I said, that I could talk to, kind of get some information, another opinion from. And I am a big proponent of just having that person, a mental health professional, because it's a thin line between being okay and not being okay. And if we are not honest with ourselves enough to recognize, maybe I just need to talk to somebody, I'm having some difficulties working through whatever it is, and life is going to happen. So we're going to have some challenging times. If we can just recognize that there are professionals there. And for me, the fact that she's a Christian counselor means something to me. It doesn't have to for you, because as Johanna said, she doesn't bring it up. She doesn't hit you over the head with it. But we've got to take care of our mental, our physical, and our emotional selves. So I also recommend going to Sheryl Williams with Agape Christian Counseling. Again, go to agapects.com or call 803-779-2777. Katrina says it's the best decision she could have ever made. Lashaka said, I love Dr. Sheryl. She is amazing. Tasha Matthews Boone says, hello. Thank you so much, Reverend Williams. Your peaceful, calming demeanor is always appreciative. She says, thanks so much for taking care of so many people in the community. And you've seen it. So many people have said so many great things. And it is an interesting time we are living in, certainly. And it's okay to not feel okay about it, but you don't have to be that way. You can seek out professional help. And as Sheryl says, she also is doing some telecounseling. So you're just, it's either on the phone or like on a Zoom call or something, Sheryl?
Well, we have a special video because it has to be HIPAA compliant. So we do video sessions,
right?
Make sure that all of the securities are where they should be. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. My brother says it is a very thin line. He said, thank you and bless you, Dr. Williams, for keeping my sense.
We're going to have to do a group session there, right?
Yes, absolutely. All right. Yeah. I'm Tre Tailor with Coping with COVID again. Dr. Sheryl Williams with Agape Counseling and Training Center, agapects.com, or call 803-779-2777. Don't forget about the tips that she gave us. Play, get some physical fitness, enjoy the outside. Restrict the amount of information that you are letting come into you. And also take some time for yourself. If that means telling the kids, the older kids, mommy needs some time, or if that just means taking some time after the kids go to sleep. And like I said, for me, it was just taking a nice hot bath and some aromatherapy, then definitely do that. She also suggested writing or journaling. If you're having some feelings that you just can't quite work out, just write them down. And always, just make sure that you have someone that you can rely on and depend on to talk to. Any closing words, Sheryl, before we go?
No, I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity and thank everyone who commented. And just remind everyone that we don't tell you what to do. The idea is helping you to utilize the tools that you already have.
Absolutely. Cheryl, briefly mention your book, because she also has a great book, the little blue book. I don't have it. It's in my briefcase. You know the book.
Conversations with God.
Conversations with God, the little blue book. Yeah, it's a great book. It's just an easy read. It's just a couple of different little lines that you can read, and just to get some information. Last year for Women's Day, I gave it to the members of the team, and it's again, that's been another great book. So check out Conversations with God. Where can they get that, Cheryl?
We have them in our office, or you could go on Amazon and get them at any point in time.
All righty. Marvell Williams Mendenhall says, I think we as African Americans have grown up with the whole what happens in this house stays in this house. We have to get away from that, because it's okay to talk to someone professional. She says she's glad that she was able to do that years ago. You're right. It's definitely I've only been African American, so I can't speak for anybody else. But I know for us, that is it. We just don't, what goes on in the house stays in the house. And we look at people. I never forget, I would tell this quick story and then I'm going to go. But when I was living in Charlotte, at the Smooth Jazz, I was working at a Smooth Jazz station, and there was a gentleman there who came from the rock station, and he was very popular, but the rumor was that he had some emotional issues and he took medicine. I never forget, one day I just had an epiphany in that radio station that we're the crazy ones not to take the medicine. He is recognizing he needs something to help him not blow up this daggone radio station. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. But those of us, and I was part of that kind of just chuckled about, oh, that man's so crazy, he got to take meds. And then it just, like I said, the Holy Ghost just hit me up the head and said, you're the crazy one, because you and everybody else talking, y'all don't realize that we all need to do something to help us make it through. And he is he's doing what he needs to do to get it. So I say that to say, don't worry about what other people say. If you are concerned that, somebody might say something, you got to do what you need to do for you. You got to do what you need to do for you, and be strong enough and bold enough and love you enough to do what you need to do for your sanity. Right. Your sanity. Yeah. Johanna says, take your children to her also. Yeah, like I said, my son and I used to go. And I tell you, and I just said, after he left, I was like, I need to keep going to this. Hey, Cheryl, I don't want to put you on the spot. I usually read an excerpt out of Jesus Calling. But do you happen to have your book with you?
I do not.
You don't? I'm going to go out of the, I just dipped out of the camera. So I have mine with me, but God only knows if I could see. Hey, I'm going to call my nephew Kenji. Yes, can you come over? Can you come over here and turn on the light? Because I cannot see. I got my contacts on. I can't see. Oh, so I'm going to just click this light right here, honey. So I usually leave with a thank you, Kenji. Let there be light with an excerpt from Jesus Calling, which is something that I read every day. This prayer journal has literally changed my life. But I want to read something out of Conversations with God today, because Cheryl is with us, and I'm just going to open up to a page, and I don't know what it's going to say, but I'm just going to believe God that it's going to be this is good. Believe what we need. It says, Father, I feel safe in your arms. I don't ever want to leave them or go astray. I want to stay right here with you. You are my protector, my savior, my comforter, my correction, my healer, my advisor, my supporter, my guide, my father, my confidant, and my encourager. Father, you are my everything. That's a excerpt of Conversations with God from Sheryl Williams with Agape Counseling. Don't forget to contact her at agapects.com or call 803-779-2782. 777. Tomorrow on Coping with COVID, we're going to talk with Ed McDowell, Columbia, South Carolina, city councilman, about the plans that the city has to help small businesses, nonprofits, and where they are with the quarantine situation. So we'll talk to Ed McDowell tomorrow. That's tomorrow around 1:30, depending on what time the babies take their nap, right here on Facebook Live. Thank you guys so much. Katrina says she's got her book. Johanna says, you're very strong for doing that. I've completed my prescription. Marvella says, I take medicine every day for depression, and I'm okay with that. And Cynthia says, amen. We're going to end with your amen, Cynthia. Thank you again so much for joining us. Cheryl, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you again. Be safe, be well, and remain blessed. Have a great evening.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.